So this video will be spoiling the Watchmen movie that came out in 2009, as well as the original comic that was released way back in '86. So I don't know if you can even call these spoilers. After all these years, people are still raving about how well written that short and contained story was, including me. I'm one of those fans who think the graphic novel is a masterpiece, as well as a Zack Snyder film, who a lot of the comic fans didn't like. But now, HBO is taking over and continuing the story with an original plot. That's why a lot of the TikTok trailer seems so unfamiliar.
We are no one. We are everyone. And we are invisible. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
We convinced ourselves that they were gone, but they were just hibernating.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
They came for everybody. All please.
Are we safe?
I guess we have ourselves a reckoning.
What are you two talking about?
Oh, nothing. Just the end of the world.
The only recognizable character was Adrian Veidt, aka Ozymandias, and well, all the Rorschachs. But that's a little complicated, since the original died in the final moments of the comic and movie. The show creator, Damon Lindelof, came out and said this will not be a sequel to the movie or the comics, instead more like a modern take. It's not so much of a continuation as it is a brand new story within the same Watchmen universe. It's exactly what he said in his long letter to diehard fans who will judge him before even watching. To be clear, Watchmen is canon, just the way Mr. Moore wrote, the way Mr. Gibbons drew it, and the way the brilliant John Higgins colored it. But we are not making a sequel either. This story will be set in the world its creators painstakingly built, but in the tradition of the work that inspired it. This new story must be original. It had to be vibrant with the seismic unpredictability of its own tectonic plates. It must ask new questions and explore the world through a fresh lens. Most importantly, it must be contemporary. Judging by how much Adrian has aged, the show will likely take place in 2019 or around this time. Since the comic and the movie take place in 1985, 35 years after the events of New York's destruction and the world uniting together. There's actually an ongoing Watchmen comic called Doomsday Clock that's near its conclusion that is nothing like the original story or what this trailer showed us. Doomsday Clock takes place 7 years after Watchmen and it introduces these characters into the DC universe. Watchmen has always been a part of DC Comics, but not in the same world with Batman or The Flash. This new HBO show won't even bother mentioning the events of Doomsday Clock. It's way too comic booky. It kind of seems like the main purpose of Doomsday Clock is to try and explain all of DC's retcons throughout its very long history, like all the Superman reimaginings, using Dr. Manhattan's ridiculously overpowered abilities. You can't go on having really old school heroes set in the 30s forever. So with Watchmen taking place in 1985, Doomsday Clock in 92, and HBO's show being more modern, they will all have a very different atmosphere to them. I'm just going with 2019 for the setting in HBO show for simplicity's sake. Dr. Manhattan left this world for good 35 years ago. It would kind of stain the original comics if he were to come back for this series. As much as I love this character, I think it's for the best to leave him out of it, aside from mentioning him from time to time. Adrian will surely have a large role, but Night Owl and the Silk Spectre's fate is unknown. The older woman we see in the trailer could be Silk Spectre, aka Laurie. The two had to change their identities at the end of the comics, since they went back to being costumed heroes, which had been outlawed for a while. It would be nice to see how much their characters had changed over the years. Now, onto all those wannabe Rorschachs in the trailer. The original Rorschach continued to work as a vigilante even after it was outlawed, and the general public weren't big fans of him. His journal that he left behind to reveal the truth about Adrian's involvement in the destruction of New York must have resonated with some new generation vigilantes, because after all these years his legacy still lives on. Even in Doomsday Clock, there's this crazy young man who's going around calling himself Rorschach and wearing his mask. Rorschach was all about justice and didn't always have the patience to deal with the legal system, so it's clear why the police will be going after these new Rorschach wannabes. Who that metallic masked person is will be a mystery. I don't recognize who that character might be, but so far, he or she looks important. The trailer makes it seem like this new show will be continuing the theme of blurring the lines between heroes and villains, and will focus on the Rorschachs versus police conflict. I'm really curious to see how this show will be handled. Damon Lindelof has been very vocal about how big of a fan of the series he is, and how much he respects Alan Moore's work. Moore has always said that Watchmen can never be properly adapted into any other media aside from the comics. I think the movie did a pretty good job with all the changes it had to make, so I'm hopeful for this new show coming in the fall. Love to hear what you guys think, based off the trailer and what Damon has come out and said. I'll leave his full letter to fans in the description, since there's no way I was going to read all 5 pages during this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll be back soon. Thanks for watching.